So that's one way of looking at this. Let's take a look at some others as well. Let's see. We're going to move over here to the USSR. And the USSR is the second country we'll tackle. And the dictator in the USSR is a guy named Lenin, and we talked about him before, coming to power during World War I, and how they create this revolution in Russia, and they create this USSR in 1917, and their dictatorship is called a communist dictatorship. Now, you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4 different characteristics of the communist dictatorship. Only one political party, not a lot of freedom. The government controls the economy completely, and if you get in the way, they will crush you. And I think the best example of this is going to be this dude over here, right there on the top of that slide. His name is Joseph Stalin, and he becomes the leader of the USSR in 1924 after Lenin dies, and Stalin is just a brutal, brutal dictator in terms of crushing opposition. Examples. He's going to take all the farms in the Soviet Union and turn them into these things called collectives, where the government owns them and everyone has to share the land and the equipment. Nobody gets any private property anymore. Well, there's a whole bunch of people that don't like this, that are upset because this was like, their land, their people. So he does a couple of things to them. First, he decides to take all of the grain that they harvest, all of the food that they harvest, and he refuses to give it back to them. So he begins to starve his own people into submission because they disagree with his policies. Second, when they revolt, he goes to their farms with his army, takes the oldest male in the family, kills them, burns their body to ash, and forces the rest of the family to use as fertilizer on the collectives. It's crazy. He sends people, and he uses the first ever new version of concentration camps. He calls them gulags, and he sends them there to work. To work. That's the difference between these concentration camps and the concentration camps that we had taken a look at in the Spanish-American War. That when you go to a concentration camp of the kind Stalin first sets up and then Hitler uses later, then you work yourself to death. So it's estimated that by the time he dies, maybe as many as 20 million people have been killed underneath Stalin's regime in order to protect the Soviet Union and its country. So there's two dictators so far.